Hi there, friends and neighbors, ships at sea, foreign legionnaires, and Helix fans everywhere. This is your captain, Brian Vollmer of the band Helix, and I'm on Talking About Rock.
Okay, today we have for you the Canadian hard rock and metal band Helix. Known for their hit songs Rock You and for the Crazy Elephant cover of Gimme Gimme Good Lovin', the band's first US release, Heavy Metal Love, went to heavy rotation on the then just formed MTV in the day. Here to speak with us about their upcoming release, Scrap Metal, out on January 23rd, let's welcome Brian Vollmer. Brian, how are you?
Great to be here. How are you, Robert?
Good. Thanks for joining us. So you guys just released the first single, Stuck in the 80s, from the upcoming album Scrap Metal. But I was reading this was originally not going to be a full album, right?
No, the song Stuck in the 80s was written by myself and Sean Kelly, who plays guitar for Gilby Clarke, Lee Aaron, Glass Tiger, G's Nelly Furtado, a lot of people. And Sean and I also wrote Vagabond Bones and Bastard of the Blues, other songs as well. And we wrote that song a couple years ago, and it just kind of sat there doing nothing. And then when I came around to doing this newest album, I started reviewing all the songs that we had and just putting different combinations together. And we had songs left over from a writing session we did back at the practice hall in the 80s in Kitchener, Ontario, on Brideup Street. And there were kind of half-finished songs. I thought, well, maybe we'll start finishing these songs. And once we got into it, they were turning out so good that we decided just to put it with the song I wrote with Sean, which kind of summed up what the songs were about. And that is that the 80s were a great time for music. If you turn on the radio at any time, you hear Ozzy, Motley Crue, Ronnie James Dio, and they play more of that stuff than I think they do new stuff nowadays. So I thought I'd write the album about that, have the album be about that. And then we added the other side of songs from lesser-known Helix albums that probably didn't sell too many units. So for all intents and purposes, fans don't really know the songs. And we ended up with just the cream of the crop, best songs from those independent albums that were released after we split with Capitol in 1989.
Excellent. Yeah. So you mentioned the 80s. So let's do a quick review here of some Helix history, shall we say. So in 83, you guys released the No Rest for the Wicked album, featuring the track Heavy Metal Love. The album ranked on the Billboard 200, certified gold. What can you share with us about that time? That sounds amazing.
Well, we did two independent albums before we did No Rest for the Wicked, and we had fully intended to record that album the same way and release it ourselves. But we shopped it around, and every label dropped out except two, Capitol Records and Aquarius. And finally, Aquarius dropped out and Capitol signed us. But they didn't sign us to the Canadian label. They signed us to the American label with worldwide distribution because Dean Cameron, who was the president of Capitol Canada, thought that we'd be better off with the American label. We were more of an American-sounding band, and he thought we'd get more money, which is always important for videos, touring, just even artwork on the album. So Dean went on a limb and got assigned to the American label. And we went out and started touring the United States, first off with Molly Hatch and Blackfoot. And that tour fell apart after 3 dates when they put us on Another Perfect Day, the Motorhead tour. And that went from Hartford, Connecticut, right out to Prince's Club, the First Avenue Club in Minneapolis. And then ICM, which was the booking agency, they kept us on the road for the next year until we came out with Walking the Razor's Edge.
Yep, so I was just going to come up with that. So 84, yeah, Walking the Razor's Edge came out, reaching number 27 on the Canadian RPM album chart, selling 100,000 copies in Canada and 400,000 internationally. And obviously, the single "Rock You" reached number 27, also for you guys, which has kind of become your anthem, basically.
Yes, that song's been on a couple movie soundtracks and really catapulted us into the big leagues. The song was the video for that song was done at the Toronto Brickyards in Toronto, and the video was a big hit as well. Not only did it get airplay on MTV in the United States, but it was the first year for Much Music in Canada, so it got lots of airplay on that station as well. And we went out and toured the United States with Whitesnake and Quiet Riot, and it was a lot of fun that summer. Big crowds, 20,000 seat arenas.
Yeah, definitely. And so the second single you guys came out with from "Walking the Razor's Edge" was that Crazy Elephant cover, "Gimme Gimme Good Lovin'." And you guys had two versions of the music video for this, which I thought was kind of interesting, right? You had a regular MTV type of video, and they had, shall we say, more adult-oriented with some topless dancers, and then a young porn star named Tracy Lords also making an appearance on that as well.
That was actually our second topless video. The first one was Heavy Metal Love. Heavy Metal Love, did we do that? Anyway, we did it for the Playboy Channel, and that was the idea of the record company. It wasn't totally ours. So,
all right. And then after that, the next album you guys came out with, "Long Way to Heaven." So you guys had a nice single off that, "Deep Cuts the Knife," which received a lot of, heavy airplay, again, in the U.S. and in Canada. A lot of video play on Much Music, and Q107 in Toronto had the song riding at number one for several weeks, which is where I caught it on my radio back in the day. That's all right. The time.
Well, that song reached double breaker status in the United States, which means that 2/3 of all the stations in our genre of music were playing that song. And once again, we toured the United States, I think that time with Accept and Keel. And then we played various one-off dates with all sorts of bands across the United States. Our goal was just to keep out there in front of people's faces. And we toured in an old, dilapidated school bus. And it was funny because we'd be pulling into gigs in the shit box of a bus, and Quiet Riot and Whitesnake would have top-of-the-line tour buses. But where were all the girls? They were in our bus. In fact, Kevin DeBro and Carlos Cavazos come over one night to see what all the hubbub was about, and nobody paid any attention to them, so they left.
Oh, wow. I'm sure they were quite upset about that, for sure.
I don't know if they were or not, but I just thought that was funny. That happened in Albuquerque, I believe. Yeah,
you guys definitely had some great hits and some great tours going on. Then, unfortunately, on July 5th, 1992, tragedy struck when Paul Heckman was killed when the band's van rolled down an embankment there in Vancouver, unfortunately, on you guys there. That had to be crazy.
That was on the Back for Another Taste album. There was actually another album in between there called Wild in the Streets. We also toured Europe on a lot of these albums, and we had a strong following over there. On backing up to the Long Way to Heaven album, we had a number one album in Sweden with that. And we toured extensively around the country of Sweden. But we initially went to Europe on the No Rest of the Wicked album, and we were the opening act for Kiss. And we actually played the first gig that Kiss ever did with their makeup off in Portugal in 1983. And then on subsequent tours, we went out with Motorhead, Girls' School, Merciful Fate. And we played the old Marquee, the new Marquee in London, England. But yeah, when we released the Back for Another Taste album, we went out. We first off toured Europe with Ian Gillan, and we came back home, and then we were doing a Western Canadian tour, and it was on our way back from that tour where the van rolled and Paul was killed. Paul was my writing partner, and it looked like the band was going to break up at that point, but I kept it going, and it was hard. A lot of people thought that I was running the name into the ground, and that it would never be the same. But in my way of thinking, I'd never done anything else with my life. So what was I supposed to do? So I kept going. I think I went about $130,000 into debt. just putting out my own albums. But finally, we struck pay dirt in 2006 with the Power of Rock and Roll album, and the band's been on the upswing ever since again.
Yeah, definitely. So I wanted to fast forward a little bit more to 2009. In February of that year, you reunited the surviving members of the No Rest for the Wicked lineup, and you guys did a version of the AC/DC song, It's a Long Way to the Top.
Wasn't on that album, though. That was a one-off we did for Tom Mathers and Paris Records. And then I thought, well, I'll keep this song as a bonus track. And so, you know, I'm always an honest guy. I phoned the management of AC/DC down in New York City, and I said, look, I want to play the Mechanical Royalties. I want to put the song out as a bonus track. And I went out to play some dates in Western Canada. I came back, and my wife says, some guy phoned, and he was really angry, and he wants you to phone him in New York. So I phoned, and the lawyer gets on the phone, and he says, what the hell do you think you're trying to do? I said, what do you mean? I said, I was told that I could use this song by Tom Mathers and Paris Records. He said, no, we don't let anybody use our fucking songs. And he hung up on me, and he threatened me with the lawsuit or something before he did. Anyway, the song kind of got out through other people. I didn't put it out.
Gotcha. So then in also November 2010, you announced that the band was going to be filming a pilot episode for what was going to be a Helix-based reality television series back then.
Yeah, it's when the Osbournes were out, and then people have laughingly referred to me as the Aussie of Canada because Helix is the oldest, probably metal band in the country. And so I thought, well, maybe I'll make a reality show called The Vollmer. So, you know, once again, on no money, I tried to put something together, but it didn't really go anywhere. But it was fun trying. You never know. In this business, when you're doing things all by your lonesome, you just got to keep trying, and sometimes you knock down the doors, and other times it doesn't work, but it leads to other things. So I just keep moving forward and don't worry about it.
Yeah, you definitely did that. You know, you published your autobiography, Giving R, in December of 2005, and you also did a cameo appearance in the second Trailer Park Boys movie, Countdown to Liquor Day, which I thought was interesting as well.
Yeah, we also toured with those guys out in Western Canada, and we had a lot of fun. They're a great bunch of guys. They give a lot of money to charity, and they're just fun to play with. They have no egos. One of the few acts I've ever toured with where you could just walk in their dressing room any time of the day and start talking with the guys. So, yeah, we still keep in touch, and probably be seeing them when we go out east this summer.
Excellent. All right. So the new album, Scrap Metal, that'll be out and released on January 23rd. You guys booking any dates now? Do you have anything that you can announce yet or anything going on with that?
We can't announce any dates yet, but we got 2 festivals so far for next year, and I'll maybe do a couple dates myself. I like booking my own dates, but it's, you know, I'm not really a promoter, so it's a roll of the dice whether or not you're going to make money. But I did a couple last year, and they were quite successful in London and Kitchener. So I might do the same again this year. You never know. But usually we end up with about 15, 20 dates for the year, and that's enough for us. And that's what we're going to do this year. I love playing still. My voice is in great shape. I think it's better now than it was years ago. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, definitely. So great to hear new music coming out from you guys. And you brought us so many great hit songs, you know, over the years. Just excellent. So glad to see new stuff coming out from Helix, definitely.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, definitely. So thank you so much for being with us, Brian, today. Really appreciate it.
It was great being with you.
All right, so that wraps up this episode of Talking About Rock. Thanks to my guest today, Brian Vollmer from Helix, and to our audience. We hope you're doing your part by keeping the torch alive and supporting live music wherever you are. Brian, again, thanks so much.
Okay, don't be scared. See you around. Catch you on the flip side. Wait for it. Here we go. Whoosh.